Donald Trump's worst nightmare just came true as Gavin Newsom has made it official. He is going all in with redistricting. Now, as you know, Donald Trump went to Texas and asked them to find him 5 additional congressional seats, and they complied. And Gavin Newsom said, back off or I'm going to respond, and here we are. Now, not only is Gavin Newsom putting forth redistricting maps that will match Texas, but they'll also outdo Texas. Now, it needs to be clear. This is going to a vote to the people of California on November 4th. So mobilization between now and then has to be all in because this is a vital vote. But this is why this is horrible news for Donald Trump. Because if Democrats take back the majority in the House, all congressional investigations will be in the hands of the Democrats. All the committees in the hands of the Democrats. So all of Donald Trump's distractions stop, and the investigations into any files that the people want to see will be all in. This is an absolutely important election this November. Buckle up.
Finished a disastrous press conference in the White House. The, purpose of this press conference was to talk about how he was going to be sending the National Guard into Washington, D.C. and other military forces based on the lie that crime is through the roof in Washington, D.C. when violent crime is actually way down. But Donald Trump then started talking about his meeting with Putin on Friday in Alaska, and Donald Trump kept on saying that Alaska is Russia. And Trump kept saying, I am meeting Putin in Russia during this press conference. Watch him say that. Here, play this clip.
See, this is a tragic emergency, and it's embarrassing for me to be up here. You know, I'm going to see Putin. I'm going to Russia on Friday. I don't like being up here talking about how unsafe and how dirty and disgusting this once beautiful capital was, with graffiti all over the walls. It's another part of it.
And here again, Donald Trump says that this will be a big thing. I am going to be seeing Putin in Russia. Donald, Alaska is part of the United States. Or are you going to be giving Alaska to Putin? Here, play this clip.
So look, let's just do this. Let's do this. It's going to be a big thing. We're going to Russia. That's going to be a big deal.
I think it's also just important for you all to know that in Russian schools, it's often taught that Alaska is still part of Russia. So the fact that Donald Trump is kind of pushing that tells you a lot. Then Donald Trump starts attacking California Governor Gavin Newsom, calls him new scum, and then Donald Trump just starts cursing during this press conference about National Guardsmen in D.C. Here, play this clip.
Lost their spirit, they've lost their heart, because the mayor's incompetent, and Gavin Newsom is incompetent. Got a good line of bullshit, but that's about it. He's incompetent. And you have Los Angeles is, you know, it's amazing. You know, I called, the first thing I did, I got the Olympics to go there. I was the one that got it. And
all right, so I guess here he finally is talking about Washington, D.C., and he goes, we're going to make D.C. beautiful, but then he says, like the White House. Do you see what I'm doing with the White House? Do you see all of the gold in the White House? Do you see how I'm building a ballroom? You know, I do this on my spare time. I'm making the White House so beautiful. Here, play this clip.
some of the buildings, we're going to add to it. You see what we've done at the White House. White House is a whole different building. I do that in my part-time because it's a natural instinct as a real estate person. I was very good at that, and I was very good at fixing things up. I like fixing things up. You see what's happening. The marble floors are being reinstalled, renovated, fixed. The whole place is becoming very beautiful. We're going to be adding a magnificent ballroom, most beautiful ballroom, I think, anywhere. We need it. I would have certainly loved to have had it today. I think we would have filled it up. A lot of you are standing outside, can't get in this room. I have never seen the room like.
And then Donald Trump attacks the idea of low-income housing. It's like, why would you build low-income housing? Why would you do any of this? For the 1 millionth time, everybody, Donald Trump hates low-income people. Donald Trump hates middle-class people. The only people Donald Trump likes are.
Donald Trump is about to have a complete meltdown as Gavin Newsom is taking his trolling to a whole new level. Now, as you know, Gavin Newsom has been mimicking Donald Trump on social media in both his language and style of posting. Well, now he's mimicking Donald Trump's grift as he's opened up a merch store that includes this. The Newsom Bible. Yes, already sold out. Amongst other shirts, of course, the red hat, the chosen one, etc. But you can bet that the Newsom Bible is going to have Donald Trump and MAGA all in their feelings. Now, keep in mind, the reason that Newsom is doing this is to show MAGA exactly what they are normalizing under Trump. When they see Newsom doing these things, they get upset. How dare somebody talk like this? How dare somebody behave like this? But they accept this behavior from Donald Trump. And that is the whole point. But they can't see it. And Newsom is doing a brilliant job because not only is it exposing that to the rest of America, but it's also getting to Donald Trump in the most fantastic way. Well done.
Why is Trump so mad at the Federal Reserve? Earlier this summer, he tried to get Chairman Powell fired by bringing up impropriety in the renovations to the Federal Reserve building. They even toured the building together to see the construction in progress. Powell was brought before Congress. Nothing came of it. Now, at the end of summer, he's attacking the governor, Lisa Cook, for an alleged impropriety in a mortgage application that she made before she even became Fed governor. So what is going on here? Why is he so single-minded about the Fed? Well, it helps if you understand what's going on in the economy, what the Fed is trying to decide between, and then think of Trump's kind of motivation separately. So I'm going to do economy first, Trump second. Economy. The Federal Reserve has one primary policy tool at its disposal. It can raise or lower interest rates. It has other policy tools, but this is the big one. Raising and lower interest rates are really just a way of curbing or juicing spending in the economy. So the easiest way to see this is like pretend that tomorrow you have to go out and buy a car and you need to get an auto loan, right? Like you just have to do it. Your monthly payment for that auto loan will be very different if it got a 8% rate versus a 3% rate. And the amount of money you have to spend on things that aren't your auto loan in any given month are going to vary based on the interest rate you got for the loan. So if interest rates are higher and you have a high monthly payment, you're going to spend less on other stuff. If your interest rate is lower and you got a low monthly payment, you can spend more on other stuff. This is basically how interest rates work through the economy as they relate to spending, not just of households, but also businesses. Well, the Fed raises interest rates and curbs spending, as painful as it is, as a policy when it needs to rein in price growth. So inflation is the average growth in prices in the economy. We want it to be low but stable at around 2%. And when it gets above that target, you raise interest rates to keep inflation in check. We just lived through this over the past few years. But you lower interest rates when you want to boost the economy and you want to get people to spend a lot of money, which typically happens as a recession takes hold. We also lived through this because at the start of the pandemic, interest rates cratered to try to get people to keep spending money and to buy houses and so on. Well, now the Fed is facing a new problem, which isn't the pandemic unemployment. It's not the pandemic kind of in supply chain inflation and shifts in demand. The problem is tariffs. And what makes tariffs a particularly difficult problem for the Fed to solve is that they are both raising prices in the economy, meaning that they should raise interest rates, at the same time that they are hurting the labor market and economic spending, meaning they should lower interest rates. We refer to this combination of price growth with economic decline as stagflation. We've only had it once before. It was in the 70s. It's awful. I mean, it is very hard to manage. It requires a lot of economic pain to get to the other side of. Well, this is the effect that tariffs have because on the price side, they're an import tax on a good you buy from abroad or a good that you buy that is affected by goods from abroad. So think of a car that's a foreign car that is imported versus a car made in the US that has foreign parts as a component, which they all do. So we're pushing up prices. Tariffs push up prices in the economy. Absolutely. And we are seeing it. Absolutely. But on the other side, because tariffs increase the cost of business and push up prices and make things more expensive, they also reduce economic activity. People spend less money. Businesses spend less money. Businesses don't hire and they don't expand. And we are also seeing all of that. So for the past 3 months of economic data, we've seen prices go up on every index. We've seen hiring slow down in the economy to a crawl. The hiring rate has stayed really low. The unemployment rate has ticked up. So we are seeing the first kind of joining of stagflation in about 4.5 decades. So Powell and the Fed, they have to decide what are they going to serve. Are they going to serve interest rates up to keep prices low and to keep inflation in check? Or are they going to serve interest rates low in order to boost spending? They don't know which problem is going to be worse or first in the economy. They're just seeing both of them slowly take hold. All right, so the reason why Trump hates this is because he wants the economy to be juiced. He wants them to lower interest rates, to get people spending, to prevent the economy from sliding into a recession. So I think what makes all of this really confusing to understand is that if you want interest rates lowered right now, the case that you need to make is that the economy is on the brink, right? The unemployment rate's going up just like a little bit. Hiring has stalled. Businesses aren't expanding. We're at this like crawl of job growth. Like consumer spending is down this year from last year. Business spending is down from this year from last year. We are seeing tariffs slowly choke the U.S. economy and all the uncertainty around them. So if you want interest rates lowered, you've got to put forward as a really strong case everything going wrong in the economy right now. And so Trump's not doing that because in his mind, he would have to say tariffs are hurting the economy and therefore we need to lower interest rates to help it. He's not going to say that. That's his own policy. It's his own fault. He'd have to say tariffs hurt the economy, therefore you should lower interest rates. He doesn't want to. So, go back to when the BLS commissioner was fired, the data that was released that day showed that the average job growth in the economy over the past 3 months of summer was just 35,000. If he wanted interest rates lowered, he should have taken that in hand, gotten in front of a microphone and said, what more evidence do you need that the U.S. economy is at risk? Lower interest rates, the labor market is going to fall off of a cliff. You are inviting a recession. He didn't do that. He fired her for lying about bad data because he wants the economy to be amazing. And so that's why his case for interest rates is so muddled. Like he just wants them to lower rates and not have to admit that tariffs are hurting the economy. That's what makes this all so confusing to follow, because the case that you need to make to lower interest rates is economic pain. But of course, he won't say that. On the other hand, right, like admitting that tariffs are increasing prices also just falls off of his radar, right? He's not going to admit that tariffs are actively increasing prices. So what the Federal Reserve said at a big meeting last week, not an official meeting, but like a conference they have, is that tariffs are absolutely increasing prices in the economy as they are hurting businesses and consumers from being able to spend. This is stagflation, and they can't act on interest rates really until they know which is going to get worse first, but really what is the price effect that tariff will have in the economy? Will it be like a one-up jump and then we're done? Will it be like a constant increase for the next year? Price growth is really hard to control, as like we've all experienced, and that's what they're waiting on. So that is why Trump is mad at the Fed, because they don't serve his political interests. They don't take his talking points and run with it. They look at the economic data and they make a decision on interest rates, which will affect hundreds of millions of people, based on which is going to do better for the economy given the risks that are present. Trump hates them because he is the risk. Tariffs are what is hurting the economy. Like every economist said they would, like Powell himself said they would. He is damaging the economy and then is getting upset that the damage isn't brought under control, while at the same time not admitting that any of the damage is occurring. So yeah, it makes sense why he's so mad at the Federal Reserve. They're not going to listen to what he says. They're going to listen to what the economic data says first and only.
So, of course, Trump is having a complete total meltdown today on Truth Social, going after legacy media companies, calling for several of them to lose their broadcasting license. This post where he's saying networks shouldn't be allowed to be political pawns for the Democratic Party. I mean, really? What's Fox News? Please leave a comment if you think you can argue that Fox News is an independent journalistic corporation that isn't biased in any way. But then again, maybe Trump is going to single them out too, because he's at war with the Murdochs over their publishing of their Wall Street Journal article about his letter to Jeffrey Epstein. He also calls out NBC News here and ABC. Now, I'm not particularly happy with NBC right now, considering the hit piece they put out on Friday that included me in it. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. But, I mean, really? An arm of the Democratic Party? Are you kidding me? They've actually been really soft on the coverage of Trump, and the hit piece is just an example of it. In my last video before this one, I talk about it. But the one thing Trump doesn't really truly understand is legacy media is going away. And yes, their viewership is dropping. and shows are getting canceled, and everything is coming to here. Independent media with creators like me, creators like Aaron Parnas, creators like Midas Touch, creators like Politics Girl, Raw Cognizance, Her Voice Matters, Gia Prism, Brian Tyler Cohen. I can go on and on and on. David Pakman. There are so many now emerging that people are following and listening to because we are giving people the stories that matter, the stories that the mainstream media is not playing because they are under pressure from Trump. So be sure to follow me, comment about this, like, share, spread the word, and let people know Trump is having another crybaby fit. I'll see you back here for the 411.